they're there on the TV, so it doesn't matter. I'm Supervisor Mike Goodman from Pinal County in District 2. And so tonight's town hall meeting, I see Jeff Brown in the back there on his mug shot. And so would like to express a special thanks to King Creek for having Muhammad being here to go through some of the discussions on some of the regional projects that we have. We'll have some of our staff part of that. If I could invite some of our staff members that's going to be speaking. Joe, is Celeste nearby?
Yep, right there.
Oh, there she is. Muhammad, if you'll come up. Do we have any staff on the panel that needs to be up here to everybody say so? Okay.
I need to grab an extra chair, Mike.
What's that?
Nope.
I think Mark will worry about. I think the one that says foot.
I want my money back.
Yeah. No, there's no refund in this group, I'll tell you that right now. For government, you know that, right? So, to begin with, if we could just have a quick introduction, Muhammad, just tell a little bit about yourself and what your background is.
Yeah, I'm Mohammed Yusuf. I work for the town of King Creek. I'm the interim public works director. I do the transportation planning. Work for Mr. Troy White. Together we did most of the project in King Creek with the CIB program. We have about $200 million that the town council approved for the transportation. 2/3 of the town budget is for transportation. We've been, working with Pinal County in a great partnership. I think under the Supervisor Goodman, there is no way that Meridian Road will open all the way to 24. And all I hear from City of Mesa is no, no, no. But Supervisor Goodman, he doesn't take no. He went and negotiated with MAG and worked with them along with our town council and mayor, and we got it done. So State Route 24 will connect all the way from homes to, Meridian will connect all the way from homes all the way to State Route 24. That's a great news that serve as second alternative to Ironwood Road. And of course, our town council working with the City of Mesa to open Signal Butte all the way to the State Route 24, even paid for it. So it's all great news, I guess, in near future, less than a year, because anticipated State Route 24 will open in August 2022 or earlier, as I hear from the project manager. So I guess it's just, this is the time that it's like being in labor, it's just 1 year or less, and you will have all the traffic circulation around here, and then our King Creek is in a great shape.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Long introduction, I'm sorry about that.
Celeste.
I'm Celeste Garza. I'm the county engineer. I oversee a lot of these capital projects, or I oversee staff that take care of these for us. So I'll kind of speak to some of these a little bit later on. So hope everybody is happy with what we're doing.
Jason.
All right, I'm Jason Botchin. I'm the transportation planning. Been with the county about 1.5 years. Before that, I was a regional planner with ADOT for about 5 years. We oversee all of the long-term planning for the county. So I'm excited to be here to share with you.
Joe Ortiz, I'm Pinal County Public Works Deputy Director. Basically these are the guys that make me look good left and right. So I just follow right their coattails. So. That's a lie.
Maybe you did it right. So, it's interesting, Muhammad, you bring up, when I first came into office, one of the things that was noticeable, which most of us have noticed right off the bat, moving out into this area, is the connectivity that we have, the lack of road infrastructure. And so that was one of the reasons why I ran. And we did a groundbreaking today with CMC Steel, which is right on the corner of Germain and what is going to be Meridian. And they're expanding their steel plant and they're doubling its size. And about 70 to 75% of their workforce is from this area. Okay, they're going to be doubling that amount of workforce. which means they're gonna add another 200 direct employees. Overall, it's gonna be about 1,000 jobs that's gonna be created because of the expansion that they're doing right there at the plant. And employment is one of the biggest issues that we have out here. The live, work, and play that we see all the time. It's live, work, and die. Live, work, and drive is really what has become known. And so we're trying to reverse that. And one of the ways is through these roads. And when I first met CMC Steel, they were kind of the obstacle in all of this, which was understandable. Their biggest concern was more homes being built. It would slowly push out. CMC Steel often would say, all we need is 3,000 more inspectors that live around us. And so that was an area that I began to see, we need to protect that. And so what do we need to do? We don't need those jobs to go away. We need more of those type of jobs created. So that was a hard push, but we did it. And we ended up getting within a few months, we had it to where we were able to move forward, but who was going to pay for it? And so one of the things that has been created over the last several years is that alliance between Pinal County and Queen Creek to get the job done. There was even a discussion that we were literally going to move the Meridian Road from the alignment over towards Ironwood, just because the blowback and the kickback we were getting from the city of Mesa. But once we decided to do that, there was some compromise, and now we're back in line to where we're going to be. And so those are just some of the hurdles that we've had to try to overcome over the years. And so hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the things that has to be done by working together and creating those types of alliances with our partners, our sister cities, our brothers in the ones next to us, Maricopa County, the state land department, things of that nature. So that kind of gives you an idea there of some of the things that we're looking forward to. Now, what I'd like to do right now is a quick overview of our PRTA. If you can kind of give us an update there. And then in addition to that, if you can give us a 5-year projection on the improvements. Celeste, I don't know if you or Jason are going to take that one.
Well, I did have a little information on the PRTA to give an update on Amtrak as well. And then I was going to give an overview of our transportation improvement program. That's our yearly 5-year construction program and how citizens can submit projects. If you see areas of deficiency in the county, and kind of go over how you can submit those projects to us to be vetted and considered. Be quiet when I was going to jump in as well. So the Pinal Regional Transportation Authority, or the PRTA, that came into existence in 2015. And then the PRTA board, so it created an executive board, and that executive board approved a 20-year regional transportation plan. This thing right here. In that, there are 13 named road projects, the north-south freeway being probably the largest there. So as part of approving the 20-year regional transportation plan, it also gave the county the authority to hold a special election. So in November of 2019, Propositions 416, which was the 20-year plan, and Proposition 417, which was the excise tax to pay for it, were approved by Pinal County voters. Very quickly, I think December of 2017, there was a lawsuit attesting to the structure of the tax. That was picked up by the Barry Goldwater Institute, and that has worked its way through the courts on appeal back and forth through 2018, 2019, and it culminated in oral arguments being heard on December 10th of 2020 before the Arizona State Supreme Court. So that's, we're talking almost 10 months ago. Now, one of the things it did allow is that tax was allowed to be collected starting April 1st of 2018. As of September 9th, the escrow account has a balance of a little over $68 million in collected tax. Now, again, we've got 13 road projects in here. Some of this money is for existing transit services, dial-a-ride, et cetera. But we can't do anything with that funding until we get a verdict from the Supreme Court. Now, I did get an email today. The Supreme Court was, so they had a justice who heard the oral arguments retire between the December 10th, 2020 hearing. And so I got an email hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, that there's a new justice who was brought on board. And they met yesterday and reviewed both the court briefing and the oral argument video. But they finished that email with a decision is forthcoming. So I don't have much beyond that, other than we are still kind of waiting for the Supreme Court to give us a decision. Certainly been working behind the scenes, so if we get that favorable decision, we'll be able to get started on a number of these projects. That's kind of what I have for the PRTA. If anyone has any questions. Yes, sir.
The money allocated for the project, can that be touched by law enforcement or first responders
No,
or education?
no.
So that is specific for that
Yes,
construction.
absolutely. Yes, sir. So every project, is listed. Money cannot move in between projects. There is a percentage of overall funding that's going to be collected over the 20 years set aside for each individual project. No, it can't be touched for any other reason than to design and build the construction projects.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Forgive me for my ignorance, but is the Pinal County the only one that will be impacted by this, or are there other counties by the close rule?
This ruling is specific to this plan, the PRTA, so Pinal County only. One of the other things was on Amtrak. So July, Amtrak announced a plan for a system that would provide, and this is between Tucson and Phoenix. And so it would provide 3 train trips a day between those 2 cities. It's an estimated capital expenditure of $925 million to get that up and running. The route would include 7 new stations, and it will tie into an existing Amtrak Sunset Limited east-west route with an existing station in Tucson. Now, Amtrak has put together a plan that says that this will generate, they figure, 200,000 riders annually, generate about $77 million in annual economic activity, and about $2.3 billion in what they're calling economic value from the initial capital investment, which again is about $925 million. Now, much of that funding is tied into the bipartisan infrastructure deal. There's a lot of new money if that gets passed for infrastructure and specific rail. There'll be about $66 billion in funding for rail. 24 million of that would go to Amtrak for some funding specific to this project and others. But a lot of that, again, is if we get a new infrastructure bill. If Congress does not pass that, then what will happen is we'll be under another year-long resolution that goes back to the FAST Act, or the Fixing America's Surface Transportation. And so it's kind of in a holding pattern to see if Congress acts and gets that infrastructure bill passed. That's kind of what I have on that. If you have any questions, please.
Yes, go first.
Yes, sir.
All right, so do you know if there's any money specifically in the bill as it stands now for the north-south from the 10 to the 60?
I do not believe there's specific monies. There are, from my kind of brief look at what the bill has, there's a number of, I think there's 24 or 25 new grants, and 19 of those, I believe counties can go after directly without having the Department of Transportation, ADOT, be kind of a go-between. But nothing specific. I believe the only funding for the North-South, specifically for the North-South, is in this regional transportation plan going back to the PRTA.
Any idea where those stops in between Phoenix and Tucson will be?
No, the next step from what I read is that they're still in a planning phase. There'd be a route optimization study and those sorts of things that would take place before pre-design and design activities and construction. One of the things I read was if they were to get funding, it would be about a 3-year process to get it constructed. They're still in some planning stages there.
Has there been any discussion? I have a question. Any discussions as to what that route's going to look like? I know there was some talk about coming up the Magma Trail or up the UP line that goes into Queen Creek and then into Mesa. Is that one of the prescribed routes that you're thinking of?
I think that'll be one of the alternatives, but I do believe that much like the north-south, the tier one that ADOT has done, which I won't get too into the weeds, but they do a tier one environmental impact study. And essentially there's a corridor that's, in this case, 1,600 feet wide. And they go through, ADOT went through 3-4 years looking at different alternatives. They've just recently put out what they call their record of decision, and they say the corridor will go here. There's a secondary tier two environmental, which then looks at that 1,600 foot wide corridor and decides where the 400 foot wide freeway will go in between there. And so there'll be a process, a public involvement process more than likely for that as well.
Okay.
But I don't have any specific information on that.
One of the prior meetings, there was a discussion about a rail spur for the steel plant, the release and the road congestion of all the trucks. Is there anything that still is in the works or any ideas or any further thought on that?
You know, it just so happened at that groundbreaking today, UP was there. And so there has been, and they're continuing in the discussions. In fact, the rail spur will be first talking to some of the city of Mesa in their economic development. They've already secured so much of the easement already from some of the landowners in that area, general area, that'll bring that rail spur across. And there's only one more, and they're tying that up today, you know, in the next week or two. But that should make it to where they have all the easements and everything to take that rail spur over to CM Steel and pick up all those in between, which will be a game changer for CMC Steel. A lot of those, I mean, CMC Steel, I think the last number they gave us, they run about 4,000 trucks out of that facility. And I think it's at least half of that they take over to the rails for over 51st Avenue. Wow. So they truck it from here all the way to 51st Avenue just to put on a rail. And so that was one of the, when I first got into office, that was one thing they were saying, if you just get us a rail spur, we can take a lot of our big trucks off of the traffic, off of the roads. And so we're pretty dang close to that becoming a reality. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Are these, I saw at the last meeting that we had an open meeting before the pandemic here. I saw 3 different renderings of possibilities for that north side. And one of them, if I'm not mistaken, showed the tracks, Amtrak, is going to be in parallel with that freeway. I don't know if that's been thought about. I remember asking the people there in attendance, and they said there was a lot of issues with state trust, tribal land, things like that they had to negotiate. And I don't know if that's still something that is going to come to fruition or still needs to be negotiated.
Certainly that's purview, meaning that they kind of decide where that goes. I can tell you now that they've done a record of decision, that is where the footprint will be. I don't have a map here for you, but yeah, I don't know whether or not, I don't believe that the corridor that they have chosen, I believe that was more westernly, they've chosen more of an easterly alignment, north-south.
The one that they've chosen, is that the one that goes south towards Tucson?
Well, this one
comes out just north of Tucson?
sort of, where it would go is, you know, the end of US 60, they'll go all the way down to the 10 again, which would come out north of Tucson.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of agreed with that rendering, even though it was miles longer, because where I saw it come in, intersect, it was north of Tucson and just south of Route or Interstate 8. And I know it's important to keep commerce moving. And I think Mayor Barney had an issue with how this was going to be done to benefit Queen Creek. However, in order to keep commerce moving in the event that there is an accident between I-8 and the 202, Santan 202, I mean, normally, depending on how severe the accident, they shut everything down. It's up to the person driving to find a different route, basically. And I understand that for investigation purposes. But to keep commerce moving, anything coming off of Interstate 8 or coming north on 10 can take that route to be able to continue with commerce going in that direction, whether it's Queen Creek, Mesa, or anywhere else. So I kind of agree with that one, and that's the one that they're looking at. That's a good probability.
Hasn't been decided. Yeah, I mean,
It's on their website.
it's already set. This is where they got that 16-foot corridor, right, Jason?
Yeah, 60.
And then
Yeah.
they'll condense it down based on this here too. And so as far as making the realignment of what you're discussing and bringing it closer to the Santan Valley area is pretty much we missed that opportunity, but a lot of the citizens and people here did give their input to the state. It was a process they went through. The event where we wanted it to be, we were able to support it. For whatever reason, it still got pushed over further east. And so we'll deal with that. We've got some ideas that what the county is doing that will be, favorable to a lot of our citizens here still in the Santan Valley in this region. So what we're gonna and I'll let Celeste talk a little bit about that, Joe, going forward. So Jason, we're good there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Celeste, you looked at me like, what the heck? I put you on the spot. If you could talk about the review of projects completed.
Yeah,
And then what we've got, where we're at on the completion, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you guys have a map in front of you, and it's a little dated, but it really shows, still kind of what we have going on in the area. Some recent projects that we wrapped up in the area, we just completed the widening of Meridian Road, kind of into that was that missing segment between Empire and Ridge. We're actually working with the town to put in a traffic signal along that corridor. We placed some conduit and we didn't realize development was gonna come as quickly as it did. And a school popped up and houses popped up, and by golly, we got another traffic problem. So we're working on traffic signal, Mohammed is, hopefully starting next year sometime.
And that's the one on Gary.
Gary and Grange project, yeah. Another project that we're actually gonna open on Monday is a new connection to Magma Road. So we're gonna have a ribbon cutting on Monday, and we're gonna open it up probably in the afternoon. That provides that secondary access into the Santan foothills area. That'll get everybody around without having to use Hunt Highway every time there's an accident on Hunt. So that's another one that's kind of wrapping up here. Meridian Road. So we have the Meridian Road corridor under construction with the town. That's the piece between Germain and the 24. That's our segment. We started the construction in August, and we should probably wrap things up and have everything open towards the end of July of next year. That'll include 2 new traffic signals. So there'll be a traffic signal at Germain and Meridian, and a traffic signal at Pecos and Meridian. And then you'll be able to hop on the 24 and go east and west as an alternate. So the 24 will get you from Meridian to Ironwood, but you'll also have another north-south Meridian to use. Mohammed, do you want to talk about the southern section of Meridian?
Thanks, Celeste. The southern portion of Meridian from Holmes to the Wash, we actually putting the alternate section. Right now, it's at the general condition, 1 lane each direction. We're actually putting 2 lane in each direction of Central Pinal County. And that will carry all the way to State Route 24 was a completion of the rest of the project. Meridian, and that was again, that was an impossible project to be done. City of Mesa said, no, it's a lot of drainage issue, it's multiple agency, and absolutely not. We are not gonna open that up, and we're gonna think Signal Butte, Ironwood, but no Meridian. But again, thanks to Supervisor Goodman, Mayor Barney, and our town council, town green council, their political will to go to City of Mesa and MAG and make it happen. That for me as a transportation engineer, that's a very, very important corridor that held right next to Ironwood. Because I believe Ironwood's day one will be at capacity when State Route 24 open. We need the other route, north-south, to help with that. And we have Meridian, all the way to State Route 24, even outside, the town limit, it's Pinal County. And Signal Butte, north of Germain, as you know, it's not town of Concord. It's actually city of Mesa. But our mayor and town council was going there, and city of Mesa negotiating. We actually paid for that part of Signal Butte to get it done. So it's just unbelievable how politics work and how our elected politicians can go and solve our transportation problem. As a transportation engineer alone, I cannot solve it without the political will. So I really appreciate everything that Supervisor Goodman did and Mayor Barney and our town council. Really appreciate it. You want me to continue?
No, I'll go. So there's a few other projects I kind of wanted to talk about. We've got several traffic signals under design. We're working on setting a span wire signal over here on Bella Vista and Quail Run. We put in a 4-way stop. We're working on a traffic signal design at Combs and Schnapp surrounding a bunch of new development over there. We're working on several new traffic signals on the western side of the district near the Promenade development, so Pine Highway, Spring Valley Parkway, Empire, Spring Valley Parkway, Thompson and Empire. There's a lot of new development on that side of the county that we're trying to get ahead of the traffic problem. So there's a lot of traffic signals coming.
Hey,
One other
Celeste.
thing to mention that I know everybody is usually, it's on their mind is when are you gonna finish Hunt Highway? So our last phase of Hunt, which will stretch from Magma Road to about the Oasis Boulevard segment, this is not really up to date because we've stretched it. So now it'll run between Magma all the way to Magic Ranch. And we've got everything designed. We're working through state land acquisitions and Gila River with their process, and hopefully we should be able to start construction in January 23. So it's still a ways away, but it's definitely one that's on the radar and has been. It's Celeste's priority. I've been working on highway since I started here, so I want to see it happen before that.
Celeste, real quick, before we go back to from Magma or Magic Ranch on, that's the town of Florence, correct?
Correct. It's in the
We
town.
get a lot of requests for that to be done, but that's out of our jurisdiction. That's really the town of Florence that's responsible for that section on highway. Right?
Yeah, and the hurdle with that section is, of course, getting over the railroad, which is very expensive, and they don't like to see any crossings improved to any wider. They don't want to put any more traffic or any more liability on the railroad. So you're either going under it or over it, which is very expensive.
We're working pretty closely with Florence, trying to help mitigate, get through.
Trying
Okay.
to partner, trying to get that
Okay.
piece done.
Sorry about that.
There was a question back here.
Yeah.
Celeste, we just had a question from online. Do we know when we'll have a traffic signal at Grange and Gary?
That's, yeah, Mohammed can speak to that.
Thanks, Lily. We are working on that, the school, actually, the school district and Pinal County and us, we contributing to that traffic signal. So we are in the process of design right now. Typically, it takes about 12 months or so between the design and the construction, and with all the utilities involved and all of that. Thank goodness, Pinal County, they already put the conduit under the roadway, so we don't need to tear a new pavement. We're just gonna build a traffic signal, and we are on it. So hopefully it will take less than a year, design and construction.
Hi, Celeste. I'm wondering if Hunt Highway's alignment will remain the same when you widen it? And did I hear right that Magma Road is open effective this Monday?
On Monday, so on the
27th.
27th, on September 27th in the afternoon, it should be open, yeah. So, yes, Hunt Highway, we started with some alternatives through Gila River Indian Community, but we actually had several of our board members champion the effort to keep it on the alignment that it is. So that was our best option, and that's where Everybody kind of came together and negotiated, and we found a resolution to keep it widened in the area that it is today.
There's a farm on it.
Yeah, so the Arizona Farms intersection will realign to an actual T intersection
Cool.
versus coming in at a, and there'll be a traffic signal there.
Yeah, that's because it's a dangerous one and I'm worried someone's gonna die there.
It'll be along the same lines as what happened with Riggs and Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Will actually come together, Gary Road, we're coming and we're up at a 90.
If we want to get too far in the weeds, but just FYI on some of the signals that we have out there that basically they're on the edge of being warranted. Now it's a matter of trying to find dollars to make it happen. And I think right now, I think we mentioned that we've had, I think we have like 30 signals out there that are Pinal County's authority and jurisdiction. We have another 15 that are in this area that are on the edge of, yes, they either are warranted or they will be warranted within the next year. So now we're doing the mad scramble, trying to find dollars to support some of that. You know, a lot of it will be development driven, but a lot of it won't. That's our struggle. Any more?
No, I'm good.
Just to backtrack a little bit, and this is just FYI, we do have our public works director. He's online, they're virtual. And I'm getting my directions here.
Here's what to say.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, my cue cards are going here. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to make sure that back on the north-south a little bit, that Pinal County is trying to be proactive with the north-south along the parkway. As far as the north-south from US 60 down to Arizona Farms, that's our priority. Yeah, it does go all the way to I-10, but we realize where the growth is today, but not only today, but it's booming and it will be twice as bad tomorrow. So that's kind of where we're really pushing and trying to light the fire. We're already going to the point of trying to find some federal earmarks to help support some of that. So whenever we do get to that point, we can, that's the biggest thing is dollars, finding dollars to make it happen. The parkway itself, I don't know if you want me to jump on it.
I'll let you jump right into that.
Well, the parkway itself is, yeah, that was our original intent was, it would have been nice to have it on the west side of that CAP, but the north-south, that didn't happen. But we're still trying to push because we feel an interim parkway would help alleviate. Because the north-south, yeah, it doesn't matter. That's still great, but that's more of long-term. We want to think intermediate and trying to get some relief. Just like Mohammed said, it's great. We'll have iron, but iron's going to be maxed out by the time a lot of this happens. We feel a parkway may help alleviate some of that. We're at the very, very early stages of trying to round up some concepts and that with our consultants. We have some consultants on board to help guide us through this to see what might be the best approach. But like I said, that's still very, very early, but it still is on our radar to help do something. Like I said, right now, we don't know exactly where and what, it's still on our radar. And like I said, it's kind of a parallel priority of the north-south being the long-term and then the parkway being that intermediate, but having on both priorities.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it for me.
So, kind of wrap it all up right now is that we've got one builder here, Fulton Homes. They've got some issues here. As these developments come in, one of the things that's required is to do any kind of road improvements and participate in those road improvements based on the impact that they're gonna be bringing with their subdivisions. And so you're gonna see some of this happen. One of the things that recognizing right off the bat, many of you that have lived here for a while understand the congestion that we have on Ironwood, for instance. We've only got 5 lanes there and we barely have enough room, if ever, to expand that in certain areas. It'll never happen. And so seeing the need to actually plan better in the long term, for instance, Schnepp Road, that's been something that I have pushed and I will continue to push. 7 lanes. It has to be an arterial road, especially with the continued construction and things of that nature that's going on up here on the south side of the valley. And so as we move forward, we've been meeting with many of the developers. There's a long Schnepp Road. We've got the major, our sand and rock companies that are there that already been in existence for a while. We've been, they have frustrations with all their similar trucks that are coming out and the heavy traffic, people trying to use those roads and driving like a bat out of hell going down there. And so we're constantly trying to work with everybody that's involved in these to help improve our road systems. And I appreciate the developers and builders that are out there taking a big role in that and helping build those roads or at least coming up with the funds as they impact this area to make sure that we're building the proper roads to handle the traffic and to handle the issues that we have. And this is just a small amount of some of the problems and the challenges that we face. Okay, let's be real here. Whenever this whole area was built and there was very little, if any, impact fees originally, which caused this area to pretty much move overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. And so a lot of things that have been implemented, many of the individuals that are on this panel right here weren't even around when all this began to happen. 40 years ago, Meridian Road, there was a discussion about taking Meridian Road and bringing it down to the railroad. And I often talk about this. And bringing it down to Rittenhouse, where the railroad is, taking it down to Attaway, not that way, but Attaway. And then running it all the way down to the Picacho Peak area. That was supposed to have been, that discussion was the north-south freeway 40 years ago. Wow. 40 years ago. And had there been some individuals that would have been strong enough to hold to that and plan for that, some of our traffic issues that you and I face today would have been eliminated in a major way. We'd have probably seen more growth than what we've got right now. But nonetheless, we'd have seen some of the impact of some of the growth handled by that type of a freeway system if they had followed through with that kind of planning 40 years ago. So we're trying to play catch up. Is what we're trying to do. In addition to that, plan even further into the future. So one of the things is that I really would ask and request of all of us as citizens that we be patient. All right, when you get out on the roads, be kind. All right, I can't say that enough. My wife says I probably got the worst road race in anybody. And she'll have to reach over and pinch me sometimes. And so it's important that we think about one another, and especially these are frustrating times. We have some rural communities that whenever traffic gets shut down, people drive through these rural communities. We spend a lot of money on the county in going in and putting in speed bumps and things of that nature in these rural communities. And remember, there's kids out there riding horses and they're playing in those roads. And so we've got to be careful in some of these areas and be courteous to one another as we're thinking about some of these things. So, Haley, question.
We had a question online. What is going to be done to Brenner Pass Road? Referring to the major problems after the quote unquote repairs.
Yeah, we actually just had our in-house crew meet with our It's actual Western Emulsion was the oil supplier. And it looks like there may have been some either, that's what we're trying to find out. Was it bad oil or was it bad base? Either way, we're reviewing it, and Western's willing to come back to the table and negotiate whatever it takes to get fixed. So yeah, it's on our radar. It's just trying to determine what is gonna be the fix. Hopefully that'll happen within the next month or so.
Thank you.
Any others?
Not yet.
Yes, sir. You talked about the community and growth from a homeowner standpoint, and I get that growth as well. Can you talk about the school growth? We've met, we live on a road, Roberts, right outside of 16.
Yeah.
Enterprise is right there. It's a straightaway. Last week, two gentlemen drag racing up the road. No speed bumps in that area. As you build these traffic lights, the students' parents are going to look for feeder roads to avoid the traffic lights, which means they're going to cause more traffic to come up our road. They're already not happy. When I walk, I look at these people waiting to pick up their children, and they are far from happy that they have to wait. Because we've mentioned they're lined up all the way back to our house. Can you talk about how the schools are responsible? Because they're coming into the community to work with this work. In my case, I don't see accountability for Enterprise doing anything to protect the neighbors on our street. It's not safe whatsoever.
And just to add to that, they're coming down both sides of the street. My daughter and I were driving, I guess it would be east, going towards our home. And parents are driving on the gravel going both ways just to get up to the school. So I have a video I sent actually Supervisor Goodman last week. It
Yeah,
was
and I think
scary.
Chris Wanamaker from our office, he oversees our traffic
Right,
engineering
right.
group, and I think he's, you know, it's hard juggling these situations, because honestly, we all deal with them. Like, I live in Casa Grande and I live next to a middle school, and I don't drive through there between 3:30 because it is a mess. But I mean, it's kind of that, we have to figure out the middle ground, you know, we Enterprise has been there a long time, you know, actually one of our directors is someone to school there, and they've had this traffic problem for a really long time, and we're just trying to find resources, and we're trying to reevaluate, because, you know, last year was a COVID situation, and kids weren't in school, so it kind of died down, but now we're back and increased the size of the school. It's, you know, they are required to do their improvements. Like Mohammed said, Queen Creek Elementary School District is finding portions of this traffic signal, and they should, because they warrant that need. So we're trying to kind of just manage and negotiate that effort. It's a challenge, and unfortunately, it's not just everywhere. It's a lot of places.
But to your point on Enterprise, is there something on our calendar to meet with Chris and then?
We were just circulating emails on this actually today. So maybe that's what you saw, but we can schedule.
Yeah, maybe we need.
Yeah, we need to get back to the table with them.
Okay.
Because based on what I saw in that video, I think
Yep.
that we need to get back. And to your point, you know, I live right behind ALA Ironwood, okay? And our neighborhood, we get people that come up through our neighborhood to drop their kids off and pick them up. We're on a dirt road. And they drive pretty fast through there. And we've had to, and it's a private road, but they come up there because it takes people 30 to 45 minutes just to commute the road. And I blame Queen Creek for that one. That's in their city limits. So that's on you guys, Bob. You better get it together, dude.
And I can speak to like future planning of schools. We don't allow any drop off or pickup on an arterial street. For instance, Queen Creek wanted to drop off and pick up on Gary Road. We said, no, like we can't have cars backing up on Gary. So that future of, you know, Roberts is that weird scenario where it's kind of a local street, but it's kind of a major street. We don't allow that anymore.
So to your point, Muhammad, there's people that park right along.
That's illegal.
Well, they break the law every day.
Every day. Every day.
Holmes Road,
Yeah.
Holmes Road, they'll park right there, right in front of Fry's. Yeah. Their kids walk that road and dump in their mom and daddy.
You've got some ideas.
Yeah, we got some ideas.
All right.
That we want to partner with.
Well, that's what we need to, that's the kind of stuff we need to do here. Just so everybody knows. The amount of growth that we've had here and they have experienced over the years. Right now, we have 5 high schools in my district. 5.
Yeah.
Soon to be 6 in my district. 3 of them are public schools and 2, and soon to be a 3rd one. And then another 4th one is talking to the development over here. Another high school, those are charter schools. And so that should give you an indication of some of the growth and challenges that we have. And so we don't even have the public amenities to handle like parks and recreation and things of that nature. We met with our developers and we're gonna be talking about a major pool that will feed, these guys, these schools all have swim teams. But they don't even have, none of these schools have a pool that they can practice in. They go to Pat's Junction, Patriot, or Mesa and Chandler just to train, let alone compete. So those are some things that we missed. And so that's the part that we need our development area. And even as a community to start looking at some of these things as a whole, what we're gonna do to help plug some of the holes that we've got. And so that's one of them.
Celeste, we had
Get
one.
off a little bit off topic, sorry.
Sorry, we just had one more question online. I think we covered this, and I think I missed it. I apologize. What's the timeline for the traffic light at Arizona Farms and Hunt?
Probably summer of 2023. So yeah, it's still a ways away.
But if there's some additional funding that comes through, these projects will be expedited. I mean, case in point, the 24 wasn't supposed to get started until 2026, 2025. And because of, one of the things, there was several of us that got together, no, that's just not acceptable. We have to move these timetables up, and the economy allowed that with the boost in tax revenues that allowed things to happen. To push forward. So, these things, but the way our funding mechanism is right now, and trying to be conservative in their projections, that's why one thing they're saying 2023. But if we can do it sooner, we're gonna do it sooner. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on this north-south corridor that's going in. What are the proposed on-ramps and off-ramps on that that's gonna impact the housing? Because I live over Ocotillo, so is that gonna be, am I gonna have
More than likely be an arterial road that will tie into it.
German Ocotillo and Combs?
Judd, I think it's one of the plans.
Yeah, it should be every 2 miles.
Okay, there you go.
Every 2 miles? Okay.
Starting probably at Germain, Ocotillo, Combs, those are probably your first 3.
And then down in Pat's Junction, I think there was discussion about Ray Road going all the way to the high, right? Okay, yes, sir.
I realize that SF 24 is ADOT, but just a couple of quick questions. Number one, I believe is going to be between the 202 and 9 where the 3 or 4 sets of traffic lights, right? At the various intersections, Meridian, Signal View, and so on. Is there any intent to eventually go up or under, or that's just going to be the traffic?
On the 23rd.
Yeah.
It's overpass. If you look at this line now, these signage there for an overpass. Almost what they did with Delford Road. They came in and they had it designed to do it the way they're doing it.
So
I think the
they're
design is
building the
similar.
interim, they're building the
Right,
off ramps.
it's a phase.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my second question is, I see 24 goes beyond the proposed north-south alignment. Is that going to run all the way to 60 or?
It will actually go up to the 60.
Okay.
So it'll be up and connecting potentially around the Peralta area. That's kind of
And just,
real preliminary.
Yeah, right.
comments. Coming from the East Coast, number one, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Okay, seriously, as an outsider.
We got more of that.
You guys are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, I'm talking about, the Charlotte Indians used to move their cattle down to Boston Common to graze, and that eventually became a street. So, the ratio of one-way streets going into Boston versus one-way streets going out of Boston, because the roads aren't wide enough to be both ways, it's 3 to 1. So you guys are doing a great job. Second of all, Arizona drivers, again, coming from the East Coast, are much friendlier. I mean, way friendlier. The only thing is, boy, do you guys love your speed. Wow. Just 2 observations.
No, I'm at fault on those. I don't know if I'm so friendly.
Oh, trust me. If you're in the wrong lane, you're there for 20 miles, because nobody's letting you go.
I got a bit of a pet peeve, and this is directed towards the deputy director of public works. I don't know who's in charge right now of arterial roads that have landscaping, especially trees. My concern and my pet peeve is how these developers, I don't know if it's their responsibility or what they pay for, and these landscape people put trees 5 feet from a sign, whether it's a school crossing, speed limit, lane change, whatever it may be. It's a waste of money and time for the county or city or town to put that sign up when it's just going to be covered by a canopy of a tree along the Devil Strip area. Who's responsible for that?
And you got my vote. We hate those things. They're a maintenance nightmare. And we tend to lead towards not having any of that landscape in our medians. And we're kind of, the ones that we do have, we're slowly trying to push them out. But there are some that are adjacent to our roads that are HOA, part of their development, that are kind of outside our right of way, but they're like right there. So it's that continual battle between HOA and us, and them getting mad because we're gonna you trim their trees like right there on our right of way just to make sure that there's no site visibility issues.
It's Town of Queen Creek or even Pinal County. Can they discuss with the developer and say, tell your HOA, future HOA, those trees within a certain proximity of a street sign?
Yeah, we got that
Exponential growth, right?
Yeah, they're developing. There's probably been a sinking. We're at that point. We're pretty. And that's where we need to catch it, is at the very beginning. So.
I mean, they don't have the foresight to think of that.
Yeah.
And develop a canopy that's gonna block the sign. Same thing with street lighting. It's not cheap. It's around what, 50,000 per pole? Somewhere around that area. I mean, you put a street light up and you got 2 trees flanking it. That blocks the illumination. I know that they had, what was it? What's it called when you couldn't light the sky up at night?
So
I'm from Ohio, so I'm learning all this stuff right now.
So to some of the questions and things you bring up, I think one thing that would be helpful is that to let the public know that if there's any areas where you see a concern, and Mark, you can attest to this, where you guys got your neighborhood together, we came in and we put all the speed bumps and even some more markings that are supposed to help more signage. And so it's, and some of your other subdivisions, some of you, if you get a hold of our Public Works Department, it's easy process. You can go online and you can put all this stuff together, or you can contact my office. Either way you want to go about it. They'll get the information. At some point, they're gonna take the ball and run with it. So where you see these kind of situations that you're talking about,
Obvious wasn't that.
that's fine, be honest. It's going to improve the area.
Right, if you got specific signs, specific location. Yeah, we have our Pinal County website, Pinal County, az.gov. You can jump in there, there's a PW website, that you can actually jump in and if it's a vegetation issue, if it's a pothole issue, yeah, we'll take it.
My concern is if it's allowed to continue on and hypothetically, there's an accident, a good aggressive attorney is gonna find
Yes.
who to sue in the event there's an accident. And they'll go after the county, they'll go after the town, and then they'll go after the developer, HOA, everybody and anybody. And especially now when times are tough and people are dealing with this pandemic.
Right.
It's not something that you just want to, just let them go ahead and, they're on their own.
Well, based on what Joe just said, we're ahead of the game on the future stuff coming in.
Right.
Back there, young man.
Supervisor Goodman, you spoke earlier about private road being a dirt road that you live off of.
Right.
Would that also apply to the service access road that's currently a dirt road? Namely Magma that goes behind Copper Basin between the state land. Is there anything, or what's the easiest route to take to get something done about the speeding and the RVs or the side-by-sides and the ATVs?
On Magma Road?
Yes, sir.
On the other side of the tracks, on the east side of the tracks?
I guess it'd be the west side of the tracks. It's the service access road.
Going up on the west side of Gary Road. Or along Magma Road on the state land department.
On the state land, there's that dirt road there that comes
I think
off
we
Hunt
have
Highway.
some stuff already in the works with the state on that one, correct? For the quads and things of that nature that where he's talking about. We just put the new fencing up. Right there.
Along the new Magma Road.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, there's a road there now. There will be on Monday.
I know, but I mean, you're talking about some of the.
Just outside of the Copper Basin development, right on the other side of that separating wall.
On the east side,
On the east side.
there's still some there's still, and again, you'll have to,
I'm just asking what's the easiest route? It's in clear sight of the police station there. You would think they could just sit out there on the porch and clock them and get them, but
that's easy to
it's
say,
the Autobahn
we
back
only
there.
have a handful of officers.
Right. All 16 of them are busy, I know.
Yeah, and we are trying to beef up our law enforcement agency, but, we can pass that information onto our sheriff's department and.
Just send it to
your
your office then?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry to keep on all questions. Catillo from Ironwood heading west to the county line. Say for you, so on, what's happening there?
We actually have a project going on right now, starting construction, will take about a year or so. So hopefully by May 2022, this project will be done.
And that's gonna go all the way to Ironwood?
From Signalville all the way to Ireland will be a two lane in each direction with the center tunnel.
Okay.
Sidewalks on both sides.
Yeah.
And you anticipate any traffic lights to get in and out of the Safeway?
I don't think so, no.
Even with that if that other, those apartments go in, don't anticipate something going on there.
I'm not sure what the portion is.
Isn't there some kind yeah, isn't there some other
A retirement community and apartments.
retirement on the west side
On the west side of
of
Ireland.
Safeway?
Yeah.
It's in Queen Creek. I got a notice saying that there was a public meeting in regards to that. So if that goes, That would be Meridian.
I believe that will trigger a traffic light, you know, when they come in, they usually submit so-called traffic impact analysis, and they would include all the traffic generation from these development we review it, and if it trigger the traffic signal, definitely they would be responsible for the traffic.
I apologize. I have one more question. We're talking about the
I'm gonna
infrastructure.
hold you to that too.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We're talking about the infrastructure of the county. Is the county aware of any development of cell towers? Has there been any negotiation or talks of?
It's interesting you bring that up because we just had a work session and the county itself is, we're looking at building 36 countywide towers to meet the needs of internet service throughout the entire broadband, throughout the entire county. Now, whether we rent those out to cell services or not, but the county, and it's close to about $9 million is the investment. And so we did a work session on it and it'll come before the board to vote on. But one of our goals, the strategic plan that we had as a county was to increase our broadband capacity that we have. And it will be, there's 36 towers, was it 36 or 38? But it was a lot, it was a lot. And so, and I know where I'm headed, where my thoughts are on it, but we're gonna be starting over on the eastern part, that's part of the discussion, and so along with that will probably be some additional cell tower services, but that's what the county's doing now. I haven't seen anything on the drawing board, nothing has come before the board that I'm aware of, or before our planning department on any kind of additional cell towers, so I'm not aware of any right now, other than what we're doing.
I might recommend make them a little taller and lease some real estate up there. You know, I don't know if anybody else has cell service issues, but everybody I talk to does, you know.
That's part of the discussion is.
A few years ago, some legislation went through to place some of their equipment on our traffic signals. So potentially they could come through and start putting in some little sub towers on our traffic signal equipment. So.
Answer. Oh, Haley.
We have one more question online. Are there any plans for upgrades to Cooper Road with the sports complex going in?
The question, so they're asking about what?
Cooper Road with the sports complex going in? Is that Florence?
Yes. Yeah, I think that is, that, if
Is
they're
that
talking.
one that,
Right behind my house.
Yeah, it's right next to the canal. It hits Arizona Farms.
The one on that right. Magma Ranch.
yeah, there has been some discussion about taking a piece of that and turning it into a major sports complex. I don't know where that's at and what level it's at. I think it's kind of, they're looking at a couple, 3 different locations, but so I don't know where that's at, to be honest with you, but they were looking pretty strong and heavy. And then COVID hit, and then with the issues that we've had with Johnson Utilities and some of the infrastructure that's having to be built there, I think it just kind of got dropped by the wayside, so.
That's in the town forest, right? Is it in-
That was gonna be, part of it was that we had a discussion with us and with the town of Florence. We're talking 2 years ago, we had that discussion. And what they were looking at was actually annexing into Florence because they could take care of a lot of the things that we couldn't do as a county, and Florence could help move things forward. And they were moving along pretty good, and then it kind of came to a halt. Well, I haven't heard any more.
Thank you.
Just full disclosure, back to that highway, just as an FYI, yeah, Celeste said that actual project probably won't kick off till January 2023. But you will see some activity out there mid-October. We just got hold of our contractor. They're gonna actually be doing some chip seal type work just to hold it together. So, you know, I don't want any confusion to think that that is the project. It's that same exact location, but the objective there is just trying to hold it structurally until we can get it there with the actual ultimate work.
Final question.
Last one. Promise, you know. With this expansion, with the north-south corridor, has there been any talk or any plans to have first responder satellite locations along that area?
We haven't thought about it.
Oh, okay. That might-
Our guys right there, what's your thoughts?
You're referring to fire or police?
Both.
We're more than any talks of it.
Somebody's got to respond if there's a catastrophic accident.
Yeah.
I mean, both law enforcement and fire.
I'm guessing the parts that fall within close area may come to us. That's a future discussion, I suppose.
Yeah. And you're talking about the engineer and stuff.
Yeah, every so many miles apart, whatever.
It'll be that the highway department or, right, they'll monitor that.
Department of Public Safety would probably do the law enforcement on there. The fire may fall into
Yeah,
several different jurisdictions between us and Superstition
and Florence.
Florence possibly,
And AJ.
and AJ and.
What about
and
the
Queen Creek.
state police or the troopers?
Troopers would take care of the law enforcement portion, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then fire would be somewhere.
Fire would be whatever those
Somewhere in that
jurisdictions.
area.
Have transfer.
Well, you're getting down to the weeds right now. You know, I have a hard time getting down in those weeds. I'm not a deep guy. That's why I hate it. Okay, CPAC, you're going to wrap it up. She sees, one of the council members from Queen Creek, Jeff Brown is already to fall asleep, so.
Love you, man.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Oh, yo,
One more thing, thank you for your question about the safety of the north-south corridor, and I think that's very early on, but we have an existing problem here in Arizona right now. We are one of the highest state in red light runner. So please be careful out there near the intersection. 30% of accidents happen around the intersection. So be very careful when you approach the intersection. Do not risk it, it's not worth it. So given that Arizona is one of the highest state in red light runner, please be careful out there. That's the immediate need, rather than thinking for 10 years. Thank you.